Now, right now, as we speak, children are working in dangerous and sometimes deadly conditions to mine and produce ingredients used in a wide range of cosmetic products, from eyeshadow to body lotion. Well, World Vision Ireland has this week warned that most glossy beauty products are likely to contain ingredients which are gathered in mines by children or on farms in low-income countries. Well, I'm joined on the line now by Dana Buzducea. She is a spokesperson for World Vision Ireland. Good afternoon, Dana.
Good afternoon, Kiva.
This is a very shocking report, really, and when you think about the amount of products people use, and myself included, I'm very guilty of that. It's like, how far does this really go? How big is the problem?
That is a great question, and let me give you just a couple of statistics to create a context here. What we know is that an estimated 30% of all ingredients in cosmetics are derived from either mined or agricultural commodities, but also that around the world, 1 in 10 children, or about 160 million children, who are aged from 5 to 17 are in child labor. And the International Labour Organization and UNICEF actually predicts that a further 9 million children may end up in child labor this year because of the economic impacts of COVID and, as we all know, the climate changes that are really impacting the poverty levels of the most vulnerable families around the world.
Okay.
What we also know is that a quarter of the child labor is linked to global markets, and that the cosmetics market is rapidly growing. It's a segment that is related to natural and organic cosmetics that is set to grow up to $54.5 billion by 2027.
Okay. Where is the problem the worst, Dana? Because, like, if I think about, these cosmetic products, and we all know we could list it along names right now, you would imagine that most of them are in first world countries where, child labour is absolutely out of the question. So then why is this allowed to happen, and how is it still going on?
The way it's still going on is because while there is improvement, and we absolutely need to recognize that there is improvement in supply chain legislation in some of the countries, and that legislation helped improve the practices of companies, at least on paper, in recent years. There are improved ways of reporting and hotlines and even audits that are going on. But we still need to see that being put in practice, because the fact is that when we are looking at the supply chain, we need much better traceability of how the products are being produced, by really cutting out the middleman and ensuring that the companies have a much better way to look directly where the traded or sources ingredients that they are using are coming from, and if they are safe from child labor. So if it's ethically sourced, it could be helping support the livelihoods of the poor agricultural farmers, for example, around the world.
Okay, so some of the things that children may be, mining or working to get for these big industries would be palm oil, cocoa, mica, copper, vanilla, shea, and some more for the cosmetics industries. So when we talk about supply chain, is it that, you're saying that we need more traceability, but surely these big companies would be able to say, look, I want palm oil from a place that children are not mining it, or they're not, harvesting it. I want to get my copper from a place where children are not working, or it's not slave labour. Why is that not the case? Should it not be that simple?
It could be that simple if we all take part in assuming responsibility for making sure that these things are not only on paper, but they are actually being put on place. Because just like you were saying that you are guilty of some of that, I am guilty of some of that for sure. And I think this report, and the audience can actually find the full report at worldvision.ie, on World Vision Ireland's webpage. I think what they will find there is very practical recommendations for governments as well as for the corporate and for us as regular citizens of what we need to look for and what we need to ask our companies to do, so that when we are using this product, we don't have to ask ourselves, what was the price? Has a child paid an additional price in the illegal mines in India and Congo, where the children continue to die in collapsing mine shafts? Is that the price that I'm willing to pay? Or can I ask the company to make sure that in their practices, they actually try to have very clear traceability of their supply chain?
Okay, so like for me then, if I was to go home tonight and look at the products that I use and say, right, I want to try and make a change, I don't want to buy products that are contributing to this child labour. Like, should I just email, them directly and say, listen, like, what is your policy? What's your supply chain? Like, how do I find that out? How can I actually make a difference?
The easiest way to do it is to look at how the companies are producing their supplies. Look at what are the responsibilities that they are assuming, what is their level of transparency on how they are reporting on what they are doing. During direct trade ingredients, the next best bet will be companies who have corporate social responsibility policies, for example, and very clear rules on child labor in their supply chain. They may also use third-party verification schemes like the Fair Trade or Rainforest Alliance. So, we do have, and there are a number of countries who have already adopted modern slavery act, including, for example, the UK's modern slavery act or California's Transparency Act. There are ways in which companies can actually ensure that there is no child labor involved in this.
Okay,
and also...
Sorry, just to ask you there then on those slavery acts, does that mean then that, and this is just a question, like for if you look at the UK and California, like you mentioned, does that mean then that anything that they're importing or the companies that are, sell their products in these jurisdictions, does that mean that they adhere to that they're not going to be using child labour?
Yes, that is what it means. It means that it creates additional legal responsibility for the companies,
right,
to make sure that they have full visibility into how their supplies are being procured. Okay. We at World Vision, we have this global campaign that it's called "It Takes a World to End Violence Against Children," and it definitely takes you and me to raise awareness of what is happening and what is the cause. But also, it's about creating change on the ground. We are working, creating change in 76 countries around the world through advocacy, including reports like this, where we are asking for very, very specific things to happen. And we see in projects like in Ghana and in Philippines and Honduras, where we are working directly to prevent and eliminate child labor in agriculture, but also on the other side, in offices like Canada and New Zealand or Finland, we are actively raising awareness and lobbying with governments to address the risks of child labor in the global supply chain. Okay.
In, agriculture in some of these countries, and you mentioned India and the Congo, is agriculture really dependent on these children? Like, without child labour, would the industry fall apart? Because I wonder, is there enough people to actually sustain the industry, or is it that they can pay children, whatever, €1 or €2 a day, and undercut them instead of paying an adult a proper wage?
That is exactly on point. It is about companies paying a fair price, visible and transparent, so that parents can actually receive fair wages, so they don't have to involve their children in child labor.
Okay.
Because poverty is what generates child labor everywhere in the world. But as a parent, when you cannot make ends meet for your child, then you have to involve your child in helping out, in putting meal on the table, right? But when, as a parent, you are making enough money, you can actually send your child to school, help them get an education, and really maximize that child's potential to the level of potential she or he was born with. So the cost of this profit is actually in children's lost potential for the rest of their lifetime. Because if they're missing on education, and some of them, to be very honest, they are jeopardizing their health and they are jeopardizing their lives in many situations. But if they miss on education, they actually trade their future for the work that they are doing right now.
Okay, just to go back to the modern slavery laws and acts that you spoke about that are, in place in the UK and California, is there anything similar here in Ireland, or are there any, limitations on companies providing products to Ireland that maybe are using child labour?
I think there are examples of very good practices that companies can take and use, and they definitely can exercise corporate responsibility in the way they are bringing in the products they need to make the cosmetic products.
Okay, so really there's nothing in law, I suppose, then to stop them. For people listening in today then, I know we spoke about it already, but really just to hone in on it, to make the change in your own maybe beauty regime, to look into your own products, go on to the company's website. We'll probably have to do the work ourselves, Dana, and make these companies be accountable and see, are they actually, being, I suppose, morally okay in the way that they practice in their business?
That's one way, and the other way is really to ask the government to ensure that such rules are in place and they're actually being used, but also to support providing education and social safety nets for the children who are the most vulnerable. Okay.
It's really shocking as the cosmetics industry continues to expand. Their profits are projected to reach $716 billion in 2025, and it's crucial that this growth does not come at the expense of child's education, health, or even their life. And as Dana has been outlining for us, many of these profits coming from child labour. So do let me know what you think. 0833 97 97 97. Dana Buzducea, thank you very much from World Vision Ireland.